This is my ranking of games like Stardew Valley that I've played, based purely on my personal experience. Each game is placed from masterpiece down to trash, depending on how relaxing and rewarding the gameplay feels, how satisfying the progression and life sim systems are, and how much they kept me coming back day after day. Let's get straight into the list. Moonstone Island instantly clicked with me because it takes familiar farming game ideas and mixes them with monster collecting in a way that feels fresh the whole time. I loved building up my farm, planting crops, gathering resources, and slowly improving my home. But what kept me most engaged was exploring the floating islands and finding new creatures to tame. The monster battles being card-based gave combat more strategy than I expected, and I liked building my team while choosing new cards and upgrades over time. There always felt like something useful to do, whether I was dungeon crawling, crafting gear, decorating, or just working toward the next unlock. Even the social side with romance and village relationships added more reason to stay invested. It had a few small annoyances, but this easily lands in my excellent tier. Traveler's Rest is the kind of management game I can easily spend hours in without noticing the time because I really enjoy the loop of slowly building up my tavern and making everything run better. Serving guests, brewing drinks, cooking food, decorating the inn, and expanding the space all gave me that satisfying feeling of constant progress. I also liked that the game added more depth over time with updates, especially once the city and story content gave the world a bit more life and made gathering supplies more engaging than just ordering everything from a menu. The farming and crafting systems add even more to manage, which kept the gameplay varied enough to stay fun. It can still feel repetitive after long sessions, and being in early access shows at times, but I'd place this nicely in the great tier. Coral Island grabbed me right away with how colorful and lively its world feels, and that strong presentation kept me interested the whole time I played. The town has so much personality, the seasonal changes make everything feel alive, and there is always something useful to work toward each day. I like that it takes the familiar farming sim formula and adds enough of its own ideas to feel fresh, especially with the diving sections and underwater storyline that made progression stand out more than I expected. There is also a huge amount of content packed into it with farming, mining, fishing, ranching, relationships, automation systems, and plenty of upgrades to chase over time. I never felt bored because the game kept introducing new goals and mechanics at a steady pace. Despite a few rough edges, this easily earns my excellent tier. Fields of Mistria instantly stood out to me because it feels like a game made by people who truly understand why farming sim fans love this genre. It takes inspiration from classics like Stardew Valley and older Harvest Moon games, but it adds enough fresh ideas that it never feels like a copy. I really like the nostalgic art style, cozy music, and fantasy setting, all of which gave the game its own identity. The characters feel much more lively than in many similar games, with NPCs constantly moving around town and interacting with each other in ways that make the world feel alive. I also enjoyed how much variety there is in the gameplay, from farming and mining to combat, quests, skill trees, and even magic abilities later on. It still has room to grow in early access, but right now this sits proudly in my excellent tier. My time at Sandrock completely won me over because it takes the cozy life sim formula and expands it into something much bigger and more memorable than I expected. I loved how the builder-focused gameplay made progression feel rewarding, since gathering materials and creating machines always gave me a clear sense of growth as my workshop improved. The desert setting also helped it stand out because managing resources like water added extra strategy and made the town feel unique compared to other games in the genre. What really pushed it higher for me, though, was the cast, because the townspeople have so much charm and personality that I genuinely enjoyed talking to them and doing side quests just to learn more about everyone. There is always something happening between the story, upgrades, relationships, and mini-games. This easily secures a place in my masterpiece tier. Kynseed felt very different from most life sims I have played, and that unique approach is what made it stand out to me almost right away. Instead of only focusing on farming and daily chores, it feels like living through an entire life where I build relationships, grow older, run businesses, start a family, and shape my own story over time. I liked how much freedom the game gives once everything opens up because there is a huge amount to do between farming, cooking, potion making, combat, exploration, and managing different parts of daily life. The world itself also has a lot of charm with memorable characters and a magical atmosphere that gives it personality beyond the usual cozy setting. My biggest issue is that the beginning can feel confusing since many mechanics are poorly explained, but despite that, I place this in my grade tier. Roots of Pacha stood out to me because it takes the familiar farming sim formula and gives it a setting that feels fresh instead of simply changing the visuals. The Stone Age theme adds a lot of personality, and I liked how the focus is not just on building my own farm, but helping the entire tribe grow and improve over time. Watching the village slowly develop because of my contributions made progression feel rewarding in a way that stood apart from similar games. I also enjoyed how it adds its own twists to familiar mechanics, like animal taming through music minigames and cave exploration built around puzzles instead of combat. The game still has the cozy loop I want from this genre while adding enough unique ideas to stay memorable. A few pacing issues stop it from going higher, but this earns my excellent tier. Littlewood won me over with how simple and relaxing its gameplay loop feels while still staying addictive for long sessions. It takes the usual life sim formula and removes a lot of the stress that games in this genre sometimes create, which made the whole experience feel much more laid back and easy to enjoy. I liked that time only moves when I perform actions because that gave me freedom to plan my days without feeling rushed all the time. Building up the town, gathering materials, upgrading shops, and designing the village layout all felt satisfying, especially because I could shape the town however I wanted. The villagers also had more charm than I expected, and I enjoyed helping everyone while improving the town around them. It may not be the deepest game in the genre, but I still rank it in my great tier. Sunhaven stood out to me because it takes the cozy farming sim formula and packs in way more content than I expected, while still keeping everything fun and easy to enjoy. There is just so much to do here between farming, fishing, mining, decorating, questing, romance, and exploring multiple different regions, so I never felt short on things to work toward. I also really liked the fantasy setting because it helps the game feel different from most others in the genre, with magic, fantasy races, and magical creatures adding extra charm to the world. The customization options are another big highlight since I had a lot of fun making my character and decorating my home exactly how I wanted. It does have some rough edges with bugs and certain tedious mechanics, but the amount of content and charm here easily puts this in my excellent tier. Fae Farm had a lot that I liked, but it ended up feeling more enjoyable than amazing by the time I finished with it. The strongest part of the game is easily its exploration and progression, because I had a lot of fun moving around the world, discovering hidden crafting recipes, and slowly unlocking more mechanics as I advanced. The magical setting also gives it a nice charm, and I liked how the crafting and dungeon systems made progression feel rewarding beyond just farming crops each day. There is always something to gather, craft, or upgrade, which helped keep the gameplay loop engaging for a long time. My biggest issue is that the social side feels very weak compared to other games in this genre, since the NPCs lack personality and the festivals feel lifeless. Even with those flaws, I still put this in my good tier. Potion Permit had a really interesting idea that made it stand out from other life sims I have played. Mainly because focusing on healing townspeople and brewing medicine gave it a nice change of pace from the usual farming setup. I liked gathering ingredients, exploring the world, and using the potion brewing puzzle system since it added more thought to crafting than I expected. The town itself also has charm, and I enjoyed slowly building trust with the villagers while unlocking more story scenes over time. My biggest issue is that while the concept is unique, many of the mechanics feel too simple and repetitive after a while, especially the mini-games and social systems which lack much depth. Some technical issues and clunky controls also made parts of the experience more frustrating than needed. Still, I had enough fun to put this in my good tier. My time at Portia kept me invested because the builder-focused gameplay made it feel different from most life sims I had played before. Instead of farming being the main focus, I spent most of my time gathering resources, crafting machines, and building bigger projects for the town, which made progression feel really satisfying. I loved seeing the things I created actually change the town and unlock new areas because it gave every major task a strong sense of purpose. There is also a lot of variety in what you can do outside of building, with mining, combat, fishing, relationship systems, and festivals helping the experience stay fresh over time. The game definitely has some rough edges, especially with certain social mechanics and some clunky elements, but the core gameplay loop was addictive enough that I kept wanting to do one more task before stopping. This lands in my great tier. Atelier Ryza, Everdarkness, and the Secret Hideout stood out to me because it blends cozy life sim elements with JRPG systems in a way that feels really unique compared to most games in this space. The alchemy and crafting mechanics were easily my favorite part, since making new items and experimenting with ingredients always felt satisfying and gave me a reason to keep gathering materials. I also liked how the game steadily adds new mechanics over time, so it keeps opening up without becoming overwhelming. The combat was another pleasant surprise because the faster active battle system made fights feel more exciting than I expected. On top of that, the world has a warm and relaxing atmosphere, helped by strong music and colorful visuals that make everything feel charming to explore. It does have a few small movement and technical issues, but this easily earns a place in my excellent tier. Wylde Flowers appealed to me because it focuses much more on storytelling and characters than most games in this genre, and that gave the whole experience a very different feel. I really liked how the town and its people felt genuinely memorable, with each character having their own personality and storylines that made talking to everyone actually worth doing. The farming and crafting systems are familiar, but the magical witch elements help give everything a unique twist and keep the gameplay feeling fresh. I also appreciated a lot of the quality of life design choices, like automatic tool switching and adjustable day speed, because they made the experience smoother and less tedious. My only real complaint is that a few tasks can become repetitive, especially when managing animals later on. Even with that, the charm, writing, and atmosphere were strong enough that I easily placed this in my great tier. Dinkum appealed to me because it takes a lot of familiar life sim ideas and gives them enough of its own personality to avoid feeling like just another clone. The Australian-inspired setting adds a ton of charm, and I liked how exploring the island felt more adventurous than in many similar games thanks to the dangerous wildlife and survival elements. Building up the town from almost nothing into a busy little settlement was also really satisfying, especially because every upgrade made the island feel more alive and rewarding to return to. I enjoyed the daily gameplay loop of gathering resources, helping villagers, making money, and slowly expanding everything over time. My biggest issue is that the pacing can feel very slow, and progress sometimes takes longer than I would like before major upgrades happen. Still, the satisfying progression and unique setting easily earned this a place in my excellent tier. Farm Together 2 is a relaxing game that I enjoyed most when I just wanted something simple and easy to play without thinking too hard. The farming loop is satisfying in that laid-back way where I could plant crops, manage animals, decorate my land, and slowly expand the farm while watching everything come together over time. I also liked how smooth and accessible the gameplay feels, since it is easy to jump into and understand even without much guidance. The co-op side is another nice bonus because working together makes the grind feel faster and more enjoyable. My biggest issue is that it does not really do enough to feel like a major step forward from the first game, and some features like terraforming unlock much later than they should. It is fun and polished, but I place this more comfortably in my good tier. Cozy Grove appealed to me almost immediately because its art style and presentation have so much charm that the whole game feels warm and inviting from the start. I really liked the idea of slowly bringing color back to the island as I helped spirits, because that made progression feel visually rewarding in a way many cozy games do not. The hidden object gameplay also gave it a nice twist compared to other life sims, and I enjoyed searching around the island for items while doing smaller tasks like fishing and gathering materials. The relaxing pace worked well for me too, since the daily time-gated structure made it feel like something I could casually return to without pressure. My only issue is that some characters are less memorable than I hoped, but even with that, I still place this in my great tier. Palia had a lot of things I enjoyed, but it never fully clicked with me as much as some other cozy games in this space. The MMO aspect is easily its most unique feature, and I liked how seeing other players around the world made everything feel more alive while still keeping that relaxing life sim atmosphere. There is also a huge amount to do between fishing, hunting, crafting, decorating, questing, and building relationships, so I rarely felt bored while playing. The home building system was another highlight because it gave me a lot of freedom to design and decorate my place exactly how I wanted. My biggest issues come from the unfinished feel in certain areas, especially the bugs, performance problems, and some systems that feel a little too time-gated compared to the rest of the game. Even with plenty of charm, I put this in my good tier. And that wraps up my list of Stardew Valley-like games that kept me hooked the most. Feel free to share your favorites below and let me know if there are any great ones I should try next. Thanks for watching.